Hey guys, welcome back to American Adventure. First things first, Happy New Year, and we're on to the new year of 2021. And yeah, I hope everybody will have a great year coming up. That's what I wish for everybody to have. And let's move on to what we're going on next. So this video is going to contain a couple different things. It's going to contain what you're seeing in front right now is I'm working on actually making an interior for the Soaring Over America building. Originally thought for this was going to be to use a coaster to kind of imitate the machinery that would lift a flying theater. That didn't work out, so I kind of skipped that and I went the cheap route on doing 4 motion simulators set up, and then I'm going to build some type of interior with this cutaway at the back to kind of give you that imitation that there's an actual 2 theaters. So each motion simulator is basically 2 in each giant theater, if you want to think about it like that. They're all synced together to kind of just, I don't know, make the queue lines kind of empty out at the same time for some reason. I don't know, it's just kind of a thought that it would be cool. So, and yeah, I just kind of cheated. Whatever, it is what it is. I didn't really want to spend too much time on working on something like this, to be honest. It was just something that I think actually was a little fun to work on, and also was a way to get me going onto the next project. So also what's in this episode is the workings of the dark boat ride for Bountiful Farms. So that will be in this video. So this video is going to be pretty long. It's going to be about 40 something minutes. So long one. So buckle in and you'll see what happens. So as you can see here, I did the cutout like I'd normally do in a building like this. I'm going to add some machinery details or concrete work to help with, I don't know, the look of it. So this is kind of inspired after Soaring Over California. So it's just, I know that ride pretty well because I've been on it a number of times. So I'm just going to copy that, its interior kind of. I'm trying to kind of go from there. Some new things that were added to the game's mechanics recently. This is old, but this was added like the last couple patches for the multiplayer stuff. But we got the 10 grid for placing objects now, so you can go from if you hold down Alt, you can do Alt to 1 to 0, and 0 meaning 10. So you can have 10 little squares on a unit space, and actually is quite useful because the cubes are at 0.10. Is the smallest they can go. You can fit now 10 of those in 1 square unit, and that's how come I can make these really nice looking caution line on the side of the building or inside the wall like there. So that's really cool, and it brings up so many more options. So that at that point you can make your own mosaics if you really wanted to with all the little cubes. It'd be a lot of cubes, but you can do it, and that's the cool part. So there's already a lot of things I can do with the Grid 10. Grid 10's helped a lot with like lining up walls and things like that. You can do lining up walls against each other now if you want like 2 different colored walls on 2 different sides. You can kind of line them up on the 10 grid right at the border of a unit, a square unit, and then you just kind of have 2 walls basically settled into each other, which would be really cool for like indoor stuff. And I do a little bit of that in the boat ride, but that's later on when we get to that point. Right now I'm just doing detailing works. Now you notice that I'm not doing all of the building because I'm only worried about the sections you're going to see from this cutaway, so you won't see everything. So then I finally covered the roof, did some piping details, and then I felt like doing some emergency lighting with the effects engine, so I put those in, and then gonna do some actual doing effects, and then they just kind of go on and off, and they just stay on all the time. I think I'm going to trigger them to the pathway, or I can trigger them every time the ride starts. Probably the better thing to do, actually, is to trigger them for the ride. Yeah, I'm going to change that up, but you can see also in the little corner here, I'm going to put the effects controller kind of hidden inside a wall, kind of like an actual control unit, and then make my little unit of, it's like half a second each light blinks, and then it blinks consecutively on and off, on and off, on and off. It just goes all the time. So that was cool, and I think it actually brings some more detail and life to the build, because why not? When I when I see like actual mechanical stuff happening in a map like this, I think it makes the map even more realistic and more real. Like, for example, we have the highway hijinks scenario level has moving cars in it. I think that's the most neatest thing I've ever seen. So if we had the ability to do that in a map, I would love to. But right now we have controllers and effects. We can kind of do it yourself. You can kind of do lights blinking. You can do maybe some smoke effects happening in certain areas, but right now that's what we have, and I think that brings a little bit extra life into a theme park map like this. So I'm happy that you get to see inside this building, because honestly, it being so big, one of the biggest buildings in American Adventure, and it's kind of just boring looking, I just felt like it needed to be seen. You need to see inside it. And then I added an extra deliveries sign for the Wingstop restaurant. Needed a delivery sign because it feels like that was necessary. Then I added an arrow, or tried to make an arrow. Then I found out that there was an arrow that I can copy and paste into the text, and then that fixes that to be the deliveries building. Because this is another entrance for the park. So you have to imagine that this park is surrounded either by some forest with some utility roads that connect it to certain areas, and then it goes from there. Now on to which I find the most interesting. My first dark ride, and I think I pulled it off pretty okay. I'm about 80% happy with its results, but I was very concerned of how the placement would be, especially how I would be able to do the transition between from that warehouse building where the farmer's market is to a little cottage or a little farmhouse. So I went Google searching again, found some nice little cottages, and I copied one pretty closely just to get the feel for it, and then I kind of went from there. Now I felt there's two options for dark rides: the Haunted Mansion dark ride or the boat ride. I also had the car one too, but the car one actually is earmarked for the Ark in the industrial area, so that was a no choice. So I did the water one because I felt like that was the better choice, because it's river, and then you can make it go into like meadows and scenes and stuff like that, because I was already thinking of scenes when I was designing this ride. So that was the decision. Okay, so that's the ride I decided, so that helps with the design of the scenes as well. So the next thing was I wrote down 5 scenes that I wanted. Now you don't get to see all those scenes in this dark ride, but to have all the scenes written down helps with the context of the story or whatever it is. And I also made a name, but I stole this name from a concept art from Disney. So originally for Disney's America, there was an idea called Listen to the Land, which is basically another version of the Epcot ride, Living Off the Land. I think it's Living Off the Land is the one in Epcot. This one's called Listen to the Land, so it's just a different name, but it's the same idea. So it's about production of food. So okay, that makes sense. So what's the production we're making? So I went for, so the scene 1 is about farms, or it's about the actual making of a farm property. Scene 2 is the production of wheat and grains, and then scene 3 maybe is about dairy and some livestock, and then going from the actual raw product of it and then turning it into an actual product. So grains go in to become flour, chicken becomes actual poultry, or actual meat, and then or eggs, whatever you want to call it. And then it kind of just shows you the process of how America makes its food for its grocery stores. And the last scene would probably be a grocery store of something of that nature. But I didn't get to build those sections. The things I built was like the farm, you'll see that, and then I built like a granary, grinding up some wheat for flour for a bakery or something. So that was kind of the story-driven stuff. It's kind of very loose. Again, it's not like full detail, because if I was going to fully design the dark ride, it would take months to do so. But again, this is just a game and a park and a dark ride, so I just kind of did the minimum, but I think it helped out in getting the design of where I wanted it. So here's the farmhouse. It's half a farmhouse. The rest of it's kind of built in the back with the concrete building that you can see. The building did get significantly smaller after I figured out how big it's going to be, because originally I had a really big dark ride and I felt that was actually way too overwhelming for something of this size. So again, things change in a lot of things, and actually it was a good thing because that means I have extra space in the backstage to maybe do some interesting details, like I've been thinking about doing a water treatment plant or maybe a substation for the park. Like it's a power station for the park in case, you know, power goes out, they can still run the rides at half capacity or half energy, and then they can get people off, stuff like that. I know that Disneyland here in Anaheim has an extra generator on campus or on property to help with that. So maybe I might do that too. I don't know, but now I have extra space, which is weird. What else happened in this part of the park? Nothing really much besides just building a giant building. That's which we'll get to in a second, but I'm still doing details with cubes on this chimney, figuring out my window placement. I do like how it fits really nice, this little farmhouse kind of next to the farmer's market warehouse. Kind of fits perfectly. And I like that the restrooms kind of sit in the center too. So I made this like little plaza area. It makes sense to have a plaza, you know, in a way to direct you to a ride, because most rides when they're built, well, Disney in particular, because they build their rides with an interesting like plaza in front of the queue, and then the exit kind of is hidden in the back somewhere. Like the newest rides would be Star Wars Galaxy's Edge for Rise of the Resistance. So that exit actually is way in the back toward the other, like the Resistance area, forested area. It's like really far back. And then the entrance for the main ride, oh no, the entrance to the main ride is also in the forest area too. It's kind of in the same area. Yeah, you kind of want to make the entrance and exit kind of in the same spot. A good one would be Indiana Jones has entrance and exit literally next to each other, because it's a pathway that sneaks right in between Pirates of the Caribbean and Jungle Cruise, and just goes into a show building beyond the train tracks berm. So yeah, that happens, but that's a way to also kind of keep an eye on that. Like with the, oh yeah, I did that with my Big Thunder Railroad or Titan Peak. The queue and the exit follow each other back out. So the exit goes, no, the entrance goes in on the right, and the exit comes out to the left back toward the walkway. So it kind of just makes the flow of traffic easy, instead of, you know, making bottlenecks or sending guests to crazy places. So that's kind of the objective here too, is that I have to lead them back into the park. I can't just send them off to a random place where they get lost and they can't find their loved ones. Because what happens if somebody doesn't want to ride this dark ride, which I wouldn't. I don't know. They have some feelings about not riding a ride about food production. Okay, so they wait outside with their family. They need to know where the exit is instead of walking, you know, half a mile to the exit or the area where they're going to be found. So you want to make it easy on the guests. So it's kind of the forethought of the design, even though the guests in Parkitect don't care and they're not in groups, but just having that design philosophy in this makes the park even more realistic. So here is the station for the ride. I have the roof opened up so that we get to see the ride load in and load out. I wouldn't recommend this if you're trying to do this for campaign play, because rain will actually shut down the ride. But I don't care. I mean, I'll probably turn off rain or something in the scenario editor's like weather system. I can make it all 0 or something, so I'll do that later. But right now in scenario editor, it doesn't matter. It's everything doesn't change. Nothing, no day, no night, all that good stuff. So that is open. You get to see the guests load in, and then the boat goes off. Now, the interesting thing about the boat dark ride from Parkitect is that it doesn't start in a trough of water. It starts in a rail track, and then it goes into a trough of water. So it is kind of a weird system. But I think that actually makes sense for actually how the real boat rides like that actually operate. So it is better that it is an elevated station, and then it kind of goes into a drop. A little drop, but not really that intense. I mean, the ride's not intense anyway. The what was the rating when I was testing it? It was like medium all across the board. Like, no, it was a medium excitement, medium and low intensity, and low nausea. So it's like everything was like pretty low. It's a very boring ride. It's a 3-minute attraction, first of all. So I'm not sure how popular this reaction would be when the park opens. It probably won't be. Again, I don't care if the guests really don't ride it or not, because this is a park that's supposed to be realistic to my vision of an American themed theme park. So we kind of keep the ride as is. Borders on top of the cutout to kind of just identify it because it's easy to look at. And so the station starts out in like a barn type setting, so you kind of see what the barn, and there's like white pillars, so it's kind of barn like. It kind of makes sense. So just imagine you going through first you enter the house, and the house will have a small pre-show that's running all the time. So it's like on a TV or something, or on the wall, or who knows. It's talking about the productions of American food or something like that. And then you walk into the backyard, and it's like a small little show scene, like a fake outside. And then you get introduced into the farm where your boats are waiting for you, and then you jump on the boats, and then the boat takes you on to the first scene, which would be an extension of the barn, and talking about how American production started and how we have to feed all the citizens of America, blah blah blah, whatever. I mean, I don't know the exact details of my dark ride because again, I only did the basic designs of it just to get a footing and anchor to build it around, but you get the idea that it's kind of about production. And then it leads on to the next scene after that, and then it's a 3-minute attraction. So either there will have some music in it, there will be information about discussing the said products and things like that. I think that's the cool part about doing a dark ride, because you never think about those little things when you go on a ride at Disneyland or at Knott's Berry Farm or Six Flags. Six Flags barely has like dark rides, but I think some of them do. Again, I'm not an expert on Six Flags, but this park's more based off Disneyland or Disney in general. So there's our lovely little farmhouse. The sign for it will come later, because I will still think of a name. I was gonna try to make my own name, but then I think it was easier just to pull it from some of the concept art that I saw for Disney, because why not? It was there. I should just use it. It doesn't break anything. You see the wooden path that kind of goes over the dark ride, the river. That's the exit that leads off from a barn. So the exit is a barn. So there's a farmhouse and a barn. So I have 2 barns now. So a little barn, a big barn where the barnstormer is, and it kind of actually works. I like the cohesiveness of the theme of farmhouse, barns, forest area. We have some, I don't know, farm equipment around, like that car. There's a tractor. So the farm theme actually is working out. I thought this would be hard to do when I was first thinking up of this land, and I'm surprised that it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. So maybe other things will be harder. We'll see when it comes up to the next 2 areas I have to work on, which is the industrial area, New York, Coney Island, Seaside Fair type area, and then the River Rapids, which is probably like one of the bigger. Oh man, River Rapids is going to be a challenge, because I've never done an actual like legit river rapids that will actually look pretty realistic compared to the ones like in real life. It's like the ones that I probably would pull from would be Grizzly River Run, maybe Knott's Berry Farm's River Rapids is pretty cool. There's some in Europe that I need to look up, but I know there's some there. But that's just a tangent I'm on. It's about River Rapids. But we should talk about building a barn. I built a silo on top of the exit building, kind of just to, it's a prop, so it's just kind of gives it more story, more atmosphere, kind of doing things like that. So in real life, I think they would actually do that to a building. I mean, Disneyland did that for New Orleans. There's a set of sails on top of a building. If you're far enough from it and you're walking toward New Orleans from like Frontierland, you'll see a set of sails in the distance, suggesting that there's another harbor on the other side of New Orleans. So I think that was a cool effect, and I'm kind of doing the same thing here. So this is suggesting there's a silo on the other side of those trees, kind of just sitting there, and then you're good. And then this little mountain kind of hides that little building, so kind of just does what it's meant to do. Over here, did some walkway duct work for the workers to get the air conditioning HVAC systems, and then went back to the barn to finish up its details and to make a door probably on it in a second or so, if I'm just sitting here staring at my screen. Yeah, I'm just staring, kind of just doing multiple things at once. I wasn't being a very fast builder this round. I was kind of being very slow and lazy, talking to some friends while on, building Parkitect stuff. But there it is. Build the cross beam for the door, and then there's a slide door, so it kind of suggests that it slides open and close. It probably doesn't even open and close. It's probably just a prop, to be honest, because why would you close it? This is the exit. So I'm also thinking like, oh, you know what? I should have made it probably would have been a ramp, not necessarily stairs, if I was going to make this like handicap accessible. But again, most of my park is staircases, so it's not really handicap accessible because the stairs in the game don't really turn into ramps. They could turn into ramps if we... I don't know. It's fine, but again, all the Parkitect guests don't, do things like that. Wow, okay, so I forgot I put this in. So we're jumping. Here we go. So I didn't build the building yet for the Listen to the Land Dark ride. I kind of got sidetracked because I had another idea in my mind to add some new details to Victory Field. So here is a fuel truck that is decorated around the vending machine is decorated to be a fuel truck. So I felt like there should have been a in-between between the two restaurants, because there's Wingstop and then there's the restaurant in the beginning, which I haven't named yet. Actually, no, I did name it. It's going to be called Test Pilot's Grill. So that's where that restaurant's at the front of the land, and then so this is your in-between. So this is going to be your drink and food stall. So I'm going to build a simple fuel truck that kind of represents of that time period, the 40s, 50s. I think is the time period I chose. So if you're really interested in shapes, stay here, because this is where I used like the most possible shapes I can for this truck. Building something with shapes, how do I even explain? You start out with wheels like I did here. I made an axle even though you won't see it, but I know it's there, so that gives me references to pull from. I build the bottom of the truck out of different cubes and shapes, or mostly different cubes. Try not to use too many cubes. Try to make your piece usage a little bit less. So like here, I kind of just skipped around and then made my round part where the fuel would be. I have it built into the vending machine a little bit because it really doesn't matter. You won't be able to see the vending machine when this is done, but it is suggested that you can walk up to the machine or to the truck and it'll be maybe an actual vendor, a person selling you food and drinks, and then you go and you get your thing from the fuel truck. So this kind of resembles a stand in Calvary Ventures called, they called it the refuel station. It was in Condor Flats before they renamed it to Grizzly Airfield. But yeah, it's kind of the same idea here, was that doing that exact thing. And then some cylinders and hemispheres to kind of make the drum of where the fuel would be to kind of more prominent. I did some wooden boards to kind of give it that woods feel, kind of a mix of materials. And then I kind of try to box up the back end so that you won't see the back of the vending machine, because you don't need to see it. Then I added a fuel tank for the truck itself, because the truck needs fuel as well to move this around the the airfield. Again, that's kind of how this goes. And then I topped out the finish of the roof, some window details for the window shield and the doors, and then I will fix the front of the truck for the grill and the headlights, and it kind of makes it that here's your truck kind of parks here, and then I'll do some more details on it too. So the grill is made of the cable, what is it called? Cable bracket? Yeah, cable bracket piece. That's a very good piece for shiny stuff because it's shiny and it gives that metallic look. And then I added a little cylinder on the top of the hood to give it that 50s feel. I wasn't really modeling this after any truck, I was just kind of winging it. So yeah, that's kind of how you go with it. When you're building something with shapes, it's kind of best you just kind of, wing it, experimentation, delete, replace, delete. It's kind of the philosophy I go under. And then after you know the pieces very well, you'll start knowing what pieces to grab first, actually, before you do anything. So in my mind, I already knew what shapes I was using. I was going to use cubes, cylinders, discs for wheels. I already knew that I was going to use the steampunk pillars as my axles. I already knew that. Like, things like that, you'll get to learn that eventually. You just have to keep at it. It might be hard in the beginning, because it will, but when you're doing design like this, you just kind of go with it and just go. It'll become second nature eventually. But right now, if it's new to you, it's kind of a struggle, but you kind of go from there. Cables on the floor was kind of a wind up of a pipe. I don't know, just kind of adding some more detail around it. I feel like adding detail around the truck gives it more character and life. And then some of the orb lights that we have for the headlights and the little warning lights on top, because I imagine those would be blinking when the truck is driving on by, but they don't blink. They just kind of turn on and off when the night happens. And then the last thing I needed added was actual rearview mirrors, so cylinders at very small size, and I just kind of placed them in right where the metal piece the metal cable piece for the hanger, and then voila, there's rearview mirrors, and then a little discoloration to give it a more old look, and then I did this like graded awning to kind of just protect the vending machine, and then a trash can right next to it because I feel like guests would know what it is, and then voila, there's a finished fuel truck with some fuel barrels on the outside, and then some more grass, and I think it adds a little bit more interest in the area. So I called it fuel station drinks, or vending machine in parentheses, or vending, and there adds a more better, I don't know, detail in the airfield. Again, I think it's cool. So back to the actual dark ride. This is where I actually had to figure out the route of the ride. First tip though, when you're building a dark ride of a boat variety, try to make sure that how do I explain this? There is no chain lifts or drive tires for turns on this ride, so a boat can get stuck and stay stuck on a turn when it's in rail form. So it's best that you make sure that the ride comes off directly from the water, because then it can sit and then catch the chain and then go right into it. So right now you see this is, did I do this right or wrong? I think this is the way it goes actually. Yeah, this is the way my ride is built. I think I changed this actually. The back end here, I think that changes. We'll probably yeah, it's gonna stall because that boat that's on the turn won't move. So yeah, so I would just make the chain lift directly come back up into the station. So that's always the best thing to do. That's I think the only way you should build this ride, unless you, I don't know, want to risk it. But there's like no way you cannot have these boats waiting on a turn, because then it won't work. It can wait on a straight, so you can make a very long straight chain section, but that's it. So that's my only warning about building a boat dark ride. Here's the final layout of the ride. I think it looks pretty legit for a dark ride. It kind of just goes in a swirl motion, kind of crossing itself and touching. Well, not touching, sorry. It's kind of, I'm missing my words today, it's fine. I've been talking a while now. But yeah, it just winds in and out of itself, and then kind of get close to itself. You can kind of see boats kind of meet each other. And I'm coloring each section a different color just to give myself a point of reference of where the scenes are, even though I only build 2 scenes. So the green and the dirt section I only build. The other 3 scenes I don't even touch, because there was no point of opening up the scenes or opening up my building and kind of seeing that, because I do get to build a maintenance area for the boat ride, so that comes later too. I think you do see it, yeah. We still have lots to go. We're only like 29 minutes in, so you'll get to see that. But I only get to build 2 scenes, but marking the other 3 scenes helps out where the contents of the story is, so that does help. And then I got to build, so we did some of the, what's it called? Utility pathway or employee pathway. I did that. And then here's the actual loop around for the boats to kind of come out of the building. So most dark rides like this have a station that's outside. It's not a station, it's a maintenance bay. So, but this maintenance bay is outside and it's salt water. So again, this park's based in California, so our weather's good, so we don't need it really covered. We really don't. But I got to do that. I think I actually more realism, and it made sense to kind of put it in this corner because it is near the building in the back here. And then there's the roof. I think that roof changes because that's not finalized. Here I want to do another cutaway in the center, but that changes. That goes away. So again, I was still experimenting. This was my first dark ride. So when you're experimenting with your dark ride, take it slowly. Don't go too crazy. Don't try to get frustrated about how things go. If you can make your dark ride as, accurate as possible, that would be the only suggestion I suggest, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself and then you get yourself all flustered and then it becomes not fun playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to take it slowly, build it, and then you should be okay. But that's usually how the philosophy of what I think is how it should go. Here, right now, I am building a giant mechanical crane that will maybe take boats out of the trough and onto a flatbed or something for maintenance, or the switching out boats for changing the color. So you pull a boat out, you want to either paint it or fix the wheels that are in it or something like that. So this is just kind of a big mechanical thing. It's not based off anything that I know. I'm just kind of winging it again, but I think it looks pretty realistic. It looks legit. So the boat will come out. You can also park extra boats out here too, even though the boats in this attraction are all, I think there's like 11 boats in it. I would have to double check. I think there's like 11 boats or something, but I think it makes sense to do something. And then here's the little crane part that's kind of sitting out near the actual drop-off area for the boats, kind of just chilling. Kind of, it's going to be there, but I didn't even add a crane or anything. And then that is a break room. Why did I put the break room there? Oh well, it disappeared. So I think it was a 2-second thing. And then we cut over to redoing some of the dark ride building. The dark ride building went up 1 unit because I felt like it was too flush with the rest of the building, so that changed. And then AC units, this is where the fun begins. I did some HVAC systems as usual. This is like the most I've ever done. Actually on this building, especially, it is a dark ride. It needs to have tons of ventilation. Maybe there's areas where it gets hotter, so that's because of the environment or something I'm portraying. So that's a cool idea, thought, right? Like, okay, that works. So kind of just went crazy here. So this is where the fun begins. More HVAC systems. That roof is covered later because I felt I could have done a third scene. I honestly could have, but I couldn't think of what would look neat inside, especially at the angle, so I kind of just skipped it. I could always add something later if I was really ambitious about it. So yeah, I might add something later, but not right now. I kind of wanted to get this project more completed. But again, I can go back to older things and redo them, like I did with the Soarin' Over America. I went back and actually redid it. So I redid it. Cylinders on the corners of the HVAC system to give that curvature look, and then cylinders on top, or discs as I call them. You can call them shaped discs or cylinder discs, and then some gears to make the spinning for the fans. I always feel like that's important. And then just more HVAC, tons of it. And then figuring out the first scene. So the first scene is going to be like an actual farm. So it's going to show what an American farm should look like. First I did some blue walls in the back on grid 10. Kind of lined them up. I did a curvature wall, because this is what you would do in real life. You would have actual curving of like portrait wall or something to kind of give it that look. And then I did a green rolling hills in the back. And then I built propped up like grassy area, kind of makes sense to do so. Because again, the dark ride is, or the boat ride is kind of in a trough, so you kind of want to make these scenes kind of leveled with it. It's like how Small World's built, or like Pirates of the Caribbean also is built like that too. And then I did a little farm plot. I took one of my scarecrows that I already blueprinted, kind of moved them over here to kind of give that cohesive story, that the scarecrows outside kind of match this storyline, or this area, kind of the same thing. Then did more some rolling hills to kind of give some depth. Oh, I could have added clouds, but I don't think the clouds would have been enough, or you couldn't see them from this angle. The boat ride comes out of the barn that you originally started in, so it makes sense to do that. You come out of the barn to see the field, and then the narrator would talk about the farming of America has started in blah 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 blah, or something like, I don't know. That's what the narrator would say, right? I don't know. Boxes, plants, hay, trees, stumps, all your natural things that you would see in a scene. So I did that. On this back wall, I think it's just going to be more blue sky and some trees covering that up. You kind of just cover up the blue sky. Oh yeah, and a well. I think I did oh well. Did the well over there. Some more bags of sandbags. Yeah, sandbag. I don't know why. It's just detail. Yeah, I think it looks nice. Kind of gives it that scene feeling. Again, this is my first dark ride, so if I was going to do another dark ride, I could do more details of something depending on the ride. But I feel like having only 2 scenes open actually is okay, because having multiple I think would actually make the building look like it has holes in it, so I kind of didn't want to do that. Right here, this was a last second decision to do so, but I felt like adding a fake rolling green hills on the back end, kind of your atmosphere for the park. And so this is like what Toontown does at Disneyland. There's a set of rolling hills that are actually set on top of a parking structure for employee parking. It's actually set pretty far back, but when you walk into Toontown, you can't tell, and you see rolling hills beyond the Toontown sign and the city hall, and it actually looks really cool. I think it's the neatest effect that you could ever do for a park, so I felt like this was appropriate to do so on the back of my building to kind of hide the HVAC systems that are on top. They're quite ugly, even though I find them beautiful because they're HVAC systems. I like doing them. So I did some lighting, not like too professional. Just if you were going to play this at night, you can see the lighting. Kind of is okay. And then on to trying to figure out to imitate some farmland on the... Yeah, I was trying to imitate farmland, and it kind of worked. It kind of didn't with some of the pieces. I tried to do some mountain ranges. That didn't work. So I went for more basic stuff. First, I did this outcrop like this. That actually helped out, supported it. And then we go from... What is the first thing we add? We add a couple of little trees. That helped out a lot. And then I figured out I can just do like little lines of these bushes, like a farm at a diagonal, and that actually worked out really well. And then I added a domer, but it actually is supposed to be like a small little barn with a shape and a pyramid as its roof. And there you go, a barn. I think that looks cool. It's like not the easiest, it's just kind of using pieces not intended. So it's a dormer, but it looks like a house to me, so now it's a barn. So there you go, we have a little scene. I was going to do it again also in the first scene here, but I changed my mind at the last second because it didn't work out. Because you don't have to do all those details all the time. So hopefully on the last scene here, because we're getting close to the end of this video, kind of. Because I will do a live tour of the actual ride later. If you stick around, yeah, we'll be doing a live view of the ride and then pointing out what needs to happen next in the park's production, basically. Did some green walls here, kind of help out with what I wanted to do here. This is going to be like a granary for the grain. So it's kind of a... I don't know how you want to say it. Just a granary. So kind of went for a western type of feel. Did some shelves here. Those shelves do change because I did too many shelves. And then that bowl in the center is where the grain's going to go. I feel like that was necessary because the boat goes around, right? This is your turnaround. So this is a cool idea. Kind of just add that as your center point. So it's talking about, so the narrator will talk about the grain production is used by this machine, and it describes what machine you're using, and it's grinding away. You see the sound, you hear it, you see it grinding, and yeah, here it is. It's being grinded up into flour. So good stuff. And then maybe the narrator would actually talk about, I don't know, what flour is used for, what plants or what food items used for, blah 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 blah. But I'm just already thinking of what could happen in a story like this. So I think it's fun thinking about how this dark road would actually be made. So I also use different gears in different places to kind of imitate that the shaft that is in the center between the two are spinning, even though it's actually not spinning. It never will spin because it's not animated. And it probably would be very hard to tell. So gears help out with that motion. So that's where you kind of see here they're moving, and that actually helps out. Go from there. Yeah, this is looking pretty nice, actually, I say. So supports for the inside of the windmill. I think we're in a windmill. Maybe we're not. I don't know. Again, I didn't really think about its full realism, but I filled out the scene. That's kind of what I wanted to do. Make sure that it was filled out pretty legit, like, right? So it kind of works for me. Kind of looks pretty good so far. And then, yeah. Oh yeah, there's some issues here. So borders like to peek through walls if you don't put another border to cover it. So this pipe work here was just kind of cover that blemish up, and adding pipes to a building kind of is okay. Adds detail even though it might not make sense in this aspect. But yeah, it looks good to me. What else to talk about? Nothing really much. This is the end of the video. Or the end of the time lapse onto the lifetime view. So maybe I have a couple more minutes. It looks like I do. So, oh no, there's some extra couple things coming up in this. Would be the little water tower trick I did. This is going to be pretty cool. I knew this technique existed. I just never had a place to implement it. So I lowered the ground because you can't lift the big objects like the water towers. They are grounded to the ground only. So I dropped the ground, and then I did the M view to kind of see it from the top view, and then stuck the water tower in it, and then put a floor panel underneath, and then there you go. There's a water tower on the floor. Okay, so I'm just going to leave you here, or meet you in the live through in a few seconds. See you there. Okay, here we are in front of Listen to the Land of Darkrai for Bountiful Farms. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot the name of this land. It's okay. I was just, yeah. Okay, so let's first show off what's nearby. So here's Farmer's Market, and then the Farmer's Market leads you into this little area where Listen to the Land sits. This is the wonderful little sign that sits on top of the said entrance building, you want to call it, and then here's the exit. And then here's some like designs and some decorations and things like that. And here's a car. So we go into the building, and here is the wonderful station platform for the ride. So it's in a barn. Here's some close-up shots of it inside. Let's see if there's a boat coming up. Oh, here's a boat. Look at that. Perfect timing. It looks pretty cool at night too, because I do have some lighting that works like this. So it's actually quite well lit for a station, because the station should be quite lit correctly. Oh my gosh, I can't English, but yep. Okay, let's zoom out, and then here's the decorational, what do you want to call this, diorama for the building, kind of covering up the AC units out here. And then here is the first scene. So it's like just the farm. So the boat just kind of sits through, kind of just goes through into this farming area. There's a scarecrow, I find this scene very, very adorable, cute. Kind of works out really well, actually. And then on to the second scene, the granary, and how it basically just basically shows how you grind up, I don't know, wheat, stuff like that. And then there's the barrel or the water tower trick. Oh, there should be junk up here. Uh-oh, I need to do that. Like, I'll do that later. I'll just put junk up here. Treasure boxes and crates, all that good stuff. And then over here is basically the maintenance bay for the boats. So the boats come out of this door, they come through here, they stop here, they pick up the crane, take it out, and then they can load on a truck or whatever they need to do to maintain that said boat, fix it, check for holes, all that good stuff. And then this is a rain cover, so to prevent weather to go in the building, because these doors do open. And then they go back through the circuit, and then the ride goes in here and then back into the chain lift. Yeah, so that's basically Listen to the Land. It's actually a quite large show building, because originally I had all this area ready for it, but that didn't happen. So that's done. This here is going to make I'm going to make a trash compactor, maybe something of that sort. See. And then let's see, what else did I work on this episode? Oh, over here. More cool. Here, this is where all the lights and the decorated insides of the American, or sort of over America. So there's a little American flags of some sort, and there's a flag that you enter down. So this is only 2 queue lines for 2 motion simulators. There's actually another set over here underneath here, but you can't see it because I hid it on purpose. But I think it looks nice. It actually works really well. And then here's the control box, kind of sitting here by itself, doing its thing. It's done it, wow, so many times already. It just sits here and cycles. Oh yeah, no, I should make it connect to the attraction. So let's see here. If I do V, oh my god, it's gonna take a while, because I have so much on the map that it slows down significantly, but it should come up momentarily. There we go. So if I say attraction, select attraction, let's say this one, and then open this ride, and open all these rides actually, because they should be all open. They can just cycle, it's fine. And then back to V to turn on these. So they're off right now? Oh, they're freaking out. Why are they freaking out? Oh, there they go. But they only... Oh, well, that's not smart, is it? Yeah. I just realized they should just cycle. Time intervals. Where are they? Oh, there it is. There we go. They should just cycle. Yeah, I didn't think about that, because I would have to make a longer set of track. That's okay. I might do that later, actually. We'll see. This building up here is like a maintenance bay for delivery trucks for the internal system for the park. I don't know. There's something that can go here too, but again, I'm working on some backstage area. Not a lot of stuff is going on, but I say that this section of the park, I was worried that it wouldn't work out, and I think that it actually worked out really well. So now I have this back road here. There can be other like suggested backstage stuff back here, or I might just make it forest, just so kind of finish it out. And then this is where things will get a little interesting. It's like I can connect this to the industrial area. Maybe make this more refined and more covered up, and then change maybe my transition. Or I thought of maybe adding one more thing to my farmland, like a meet and greet for like Johnny Appleseed, maybe. Like if I made it over here, rearrange the land where it goes loops around like this, and then maybe build a little shack with some apple trees, and then that's meet and greet for Appleseed. So Johnny Appleseed. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, this is the American Ventures first arc ride. Listen to Land. So hope you guys like this episode, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.